What it do, what it do. It's your boy Andre Spruell, and you are tuning in to the Middle of the Fence podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, whether you're listening, watching, or both. As I like to say, time is the most valuable thing on this earth because we can spend it but can't make it back. So as always, thank you for your time. And on today's episode, you won't be hearing just from me because we have a very special guest today, Mr. Jeremy Paulino. Thank you so much for joining today's show, man. Appreciate it.
This is dope. This is dope, yo. It's just crazy to see, like I was telling you before, just the idea and what God placed on your heart 2 years ago when we were working together, and me just like encouraging you, saying, hey man, like you only have one life, you're young, go after it.
That's
you know
right.
What I mean? Like this idea and the episodes that you've already put out, the value and everything that you're just contributing to the next generation is something that we need to hear, bro.
Thanks,
so I'm just
man.
so proud of you. It's so dope to see this setup, the middle of the fence, and I'm just excited.
Thanks,
I'm excited.
man. That means a lot. Already having a thug crap in the club to start the episode.
Yeah, this is dope, bro.
Yeah, man.
We gonna
Appreciate
cry.
it.
Let's cry. Let's
Appreciate
cry.
it.
Let's
Yeah, man,
Let's
'cause-
do it all.
Yeah, man. You know, like talking the talk is one thing, but walking the walk is another. You know,
Amen.
so let's get right into it, man.
Man.
So, you grew up in the Bronx, straight up,
Did.
DX represent, and later moved to New Jersey when you were like 12 years old.
Yeah,
12 years old.
yeah.
Two very different environments.
Yeah.
So
totally
how
different.
did each shape your identity, and what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced during that transition?
Well, growing up, it was different. Like I grew up, to make it easier for people that don't know what the Grand Concourse is. It's about like 10 blocks away from Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up around just a really busy environment. You know, some people would call it hood, but I would just call it just like really diverse. You know, there was a lot of Dominicans, a lot of, you know, just African American. That's really all I saw.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up there, you know, for the first half of my life, it really shaped just like having that thick skin in terms of how to navigate life. You know, when you only see New York, you only think one way. And that's what's so special about New York. You know, it's
a good
funny
way to
because I
put
had
it.
my Yankee hat backwards.
Come on
you know?
now, for the culture.
Shout out to the Yankees. But yeah, it really just it shapes the way you think about life. Like it's just one speed. You gotta move a certain way. You gotta grow up really fast. And even when I moved to Jersey at 12 years old, I was still going to school in New York because I wanted to finish middle school. Like I didn't want to leave my middle school friends.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom was nice enough to just let me finish 2 years in middle school. And then when I was 15, that's when I officially made that transition to Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that I noticed of just the differences between living in Jersey and living in the Bronx was like the speed of everything. So it was just a lot quieter, a lot slower pace.
Mm-hmm.
And the people were also different. There was pros and cons to both.
Right.
Like I would say people in New York, they love really hard and they're very extroverted, right? So they welcome you in and they make you feel like you're their own, even if they don't know you. Like if you're the new kid in New York, they're going to be like, yo, that's the new kid. I got to bring him in. I got to make him feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed my first like week going to high school in Jersey, like I didn't get that. I was like a fish in just in a huge ocean, and I was just like, what is going on? And I kind of had to like make friends, which was different for me. And the schooling system was different, but in New Jersey it was just quieter. It was quieter. It was a lot slower. You know, you don't got to deal with crazy traffic. You don't got to deal with like specific types of situations, but it's a love-hate relationship with both.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because one of the some of the takeaways is that for you moving to Jersey, it was actually like a slower pace, whereas for most other people that move into Jersey from a different state that's not New York, see it as a very fast-paced environment, but definitely not like the fast pace in New York. And then you being a new kid coming into high school at 15, I feel like it's never easy just because of like the things that are in your mind of like when you're like 15 and like the long run when you grow up, you're just like, why was I even like concerned about like those things at 15,
so
you know? But in the moment, that's your world and that's all that you know.
Right.
And I would say that like, I feel like that was the case anytime, you know, just from being in high school, like in Jersey and growing up in Jersey my whole life, like whenever there was a new kid coming in, it's like definitely, I don't know. I just think from what I saw, they weren't really welcoming. It was like, okay, you have to like prove like what type of kid that you are, so we know what category to put you in. Are you the popular kid, or are you nerdy? Are you this and that? So I think that's you know that's part of it for sure.
That is so true.
But
that's how I felt. Like when I came in, I was like a little bit more of on the popular side in middle school. You know, because I played all the sports. I was playing football and basketball, and I was on both varsity teams. So I was like, and my middle school wasn't that big.
How many kids were about it?
If I had to guess, it was probably like 150 kids in total. So
that's kind of big, bro. Like my middle school graduated like 24 kids in my 8th grade class.
But all right, so in New York standards, I would say that's not that big. Like New York middle schools in general, like they're usually pretty big because of how populated it is. But yeah, like going from that, and then I came to Woodbridge. My older brother was in high school there, but he had the same situation, so he didn't have like a ton of friends either. So it wasn't like he could be like, yo, these are all my guys. Like, you have some people to be cool with.
Yeah.
So it was definitely like that filling out process. And it took some time for me to acclimate. But I would say like within a month, I was good.
Okay.
I would say.
That's good at least. You were able to get acclimated and all that. And through the trials and tribulations of life, you know, transitioning from life in New York to New Jersey, in 2020, you made a life-changing decision to commit yourself to Christ. And for those that don't know Jeremy,
Amen.
Jeremy is an example of leading by faith. It's one of the first things that you notice when interacting with him and just getting to know him as well. So what led to that moment, and was it gradual or more like a turning point? And how has your faith reshaped how you see yourself and the world around you today?
Oof, that's such a loaded question, first and foremost. You know, I want to give glory to God in all things, right? And like you said, it's just the way that I lead is important. You know, for me, when I really got radically saved in 2020, it was always, for me, God telling me, like, hey, it's less about what you say and it's more about how you operate.
Right.
Because that's what people are going to see. You know, we speak to so many people when they have church hurt or they have a situation that happened that drove them away from Christ. And they try to pin how a person is based off of what they saw. And it's so unfortunate. It breaks my heart because, you know, when I read the Bible and, you know, I feel the Spirit and I download the Spirit of who Christ really was, you know, and I felt that love. That was the main point that I wanted to get. It's like, okay, I got to really protect my witness. So for me, you know, I knew about God all my life. I knew about Jesus, but I didn't really understand. I didn't really know. So it's very gradual for me to answer that question. I was going to church at a local church in Jersey when I met my girlfriend and future wife. Shout out to my future wife.
Shout out, wifey. Shout out.
Kayla. I met her in high school, funny enough, the same high school that I transferred from New York to go there. So it was just God's design, you know, I needed to be there. I met her in high school at 17, 16, going on 17, junior year. And she started taking me to church. So then it was pretty gradual, but I had no sense of understanding, right? Until, you know, COVID happened, everything got locked in, and I was going through a lot of different things in my personal life. You know, I was going through depression. I was going through just a lot of things that younger people go through, and I felt very lost. And I remember there was just that moment where I asked God, I said, listen, you know, I was working my job. I was sitting in my office downstairs in my parents' basement. And I was just like, God, if you're real, just reveal yourself to me. You know, I want to know who the truth is. And Jesus, if you are the truth, if you are the way, then, you know, come into my life and I want to be saved. And I was by myself. And in that moment, it just felt like something changed. You know, the Spirit of God just kind of went into my heart, and it just changed my outlook on everything. And then practically, I just started, you know, really focusing and locking in on, you know, the history, who Jesus was, reading my Bible. And it just felt like supernaturally God was just giving me a sense of understanding.
Yeah.
You know, and the Bible says that he's going to give you that sense of understanding, right? When you seek him, he's going to give you the wisdom if you ask, right? So I was just constantly searching him. And from that point on in 2020, I've never been the same. And, you know, not even going to sugarcoat it. Obviously, you're never perfect. You're never going to be perfect.
Absolutely.
Right? But that's the beauty of the gospel, is that, you know, God is always going to be there. Don't give up on him. He's not going to give up on you. And he loves you. He wants you to turn away from your sin. And if you love him enough, you're going to do that. And when you fall, you're going to fall 7 times, but the righteous man is going to get up double that, right? Yeah. And since that moment, it's just been a walk and a journey that has changed every area of my life, you know?
Yeah, and that's awesome. And I just wanted to ask really quickly before I get into my personal relationship, like, with God and how that's looked throughout my life. But growing up, was your family religious at all?
No. Like, my family never took me to church. They never had a relationship with God, with the Lord, you know. I would assume that, you know, part of that family was Catholic, but they never
like
showed,
even mentioned or spoke anything about
like
God.
I would
really?
see my father pray sometimes, but the relationship aspect was never there. See, it's different when you follow religion as opposed to having a relationship with God. You know, when you have a relationship,
agree with you on that.
Right?
I agree with you on that.
Everything changes. It's like if I work for you, right? If you're my boss, if I'm just working for you, that's a different set of standards and rules that I'm going to abide by. But the second that we have a relationship, it becomes something different, becomes something new, right? And
it's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
it's a great way to put it. And for me personally, I haven't really talked about it on any of the previous episodes, really. But I was Catholic. Well, I still am Catholic, 'cause I was baptized in the Catholic Church, but I grew up Catholic, so. My family, I would say my family's more spiritual than, like, religious, but they definitely acknowledge God and all that. And the relationship with the Catholic Church, you know, and I've spoken to you with like regard to it previously, is that since I went to Catholic school on the Affluent Acre side, right, the school that I went to from kindergarten through 8th grade, the pastor that took over when I was in 3rd grade. Yeah. So to make a long story short, we lived in Orange, a very urban area. And the school that we went to was in a suburban, like, Italian Catholic town. And so we would have morning prayers before going into homeroom. And when he took over, one of the things that he would do was on Monday morning in your homeroom, you would have this sheet of paper, okay? And you had to fill out which day you went on Mass, Saturday or Sunday, what time you went, who the pastor was, and what the homily was or message was. And if you weren't there, what was your reason for not going? And it's not like we lived so far away that we couldn't make it, but the idea of, like, forcing people to go to church, I feel like takes away the idea of free will, like, just off bat. And the situation that crossed the line, we keep it real and authentic on middle of the fence, is after the morning prayers, I was already in high school. So my younger brother, I believe he was in 7th grade at the time. And after morning prayers, the priest pulled him aside and was like, hey, can I just talk to you, like, really quick? It's like, oh, like, I noticed you haven't been going to church. Like, what's wrong? He's like, like, we live in Orange, and, sometimes, like, we can't go and all that, but it doesn't, like, diminish anything, right? But then the priest said, well, there's a nice church in Orange, St. St. John's, and by the time that you go on Sunday morning, all the crackheads and drug addicts are inside already.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's
bro.
what he said?
Yes, I can't make this stuff up, guys. This is not me like
That's insane.
fabricating a story to try to clip farm or anything like that. Like that's what happened. So that situation just turned me off completely. And my idea of like, okay, if this is a priest that's supposed to be the face of this parish and he's saying stuff like this behind closed doors to people like my brother or families that are in similar like situations, then like, with all due respect, like this guy
he could beat it.
Yeah, like
you don't want nothing to do with him.
Like kick rocks, bro. Kick rocks, you know?
Yeah.
But throughout that, so that distorted my image of, you know, my faith and how I view God. Yeah, and the church, like in general, you know. But once we started working together and, you know, you were sharing your word and your message, I was like, all right, bro, whatever. Like, I went to Catholic school. I already know, like, enough. But just like you said, like, the portion of, like, actually walking in that faith and not just, like, saying it. Because in that Catholic setting, it's, like, kind of sounds like a cult in a way, because it's just like everyone is saying the same prayers and all that, like the same pace and all that, but not really resonating with the words, you know? And that was another thing that turned me off personally, was like,
felt like it was fake.
Yeah, and like the days that we did go to church, as soon as we left, families would leave and start talking crap about other families. I'm just like,
it's not a fruit.
We just heard the word of God. Like, what do you know? Yeah. But so fast forward into now, like fast forward into now, when I do my morning prayers and meditation, I first thing I do is I give gratitude to God. That's and huge. I always say 5 things that I'm grateful for. You know, even something that we take for granted, like being able to see. Yeah. You know, being able-bodied enough to work out and have family and friends that I can go to and see. You know, and I haven't told you this bit, but over the last like 2 weeks, I've actually been incorporating Bible passages in my morning, like prayers and meditations, as it like further resonates with my journey and things like that. So
that's beautiful.
I just, everyone has their own faith and spiritual beliefs and all that, and to each like their own, but I really believe in having a spiritual element, because life happens to you as it's supposed to, and it's up to you whether you're aligned with that and following your purpose and God's plan for you, or whatever you believe in, or you just lollygag through life and watch life pass you by. The next thing you know, you're in the later years of your life, and then it's like, oh my gosh, like, what happened? Where did the time go?
Yeah, where did the time go? Where did the time go? Yeah, that's loaded, man. That's definitely crazy. I know we spoke about this before, and I'm glad that we had an opportunity to talk about it, because I feel like it kind of, well, I would hope, because you know, is God's gonna do His work, you know, the way that He wants to do it. But I would pray that it gave you some seeds that ultimately got you back on track to seeking 100%. Jesus and saying, you know what, like, this person doesn't define Jesus, who He is and what the Bible says. It's just a flawed individual, right? And just to go back to that, you know, to echo that to people that might be watching, like, you may have experienced some form of hurt in the church, but it definitely doesn't define who Christ is, and that definitely shouldn't have happened. I felt so bad when I heard that, because I'm like, there's some people that don't even have that revelation that you had, to say, you know what, like, maybe this was an individual, and I can separate that. There's people that to this day haven't gone back because they've dealt with worse situations than that. You know what I mean? More explicit situations than that. And they're like, well, this is what this is. Okay, I don't want anything to do with it, right? Yeah. So it's just, you know, like you said, it's a relationship, and it's really important that we have that. And that's what's really changed my life, is that, you know, it's poured into every area of my life. So
yeah, and I just wanted to like to quickly add, you know, to really tap into the vulnerability when it comes to this topic. When all that happened, that was like 2011, probably 2011, 2012 kind of range. And first time going back to church was last year. And
Crazy.
I
Wow.
was so you're talking about 12
No, you came
years.
with me, remember?
Yeah, I came with you. That's right. I came with you.
I drug him to church.
Yeah, I came with you, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna start going back after that, and then I was just like, I never went back after that.
Yeah.
But then, like last year, I was like, I just went on my own, and I was so overwhelmed with emotion that I literally wanted to like cry.
That's the Holy Spirit.
Yep. And I wanted to leave like low keys. I'm like, I don't want anyone to see me like this. Like, it was like inside it was like that tug of war of like holding on to the story that held me back from it, and then just breaking through that.
That's
so
the Spirit of God.
yeah,
Amen,
man, absolutely. And anytime stuff like that happens, I obviously like let you know. And I wanted to ask you this, like in regard to faith, and then we'll transition into the next topic. Just because it's something that I always think about. So, do you think young people today face pressure to hide their faith or downplay it? And why do you think it's sometimes, quote unquote, uncool to walk in faith? And how do you navigate that tension? Especially considering since you, got into it at a younger age, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely another loaded question, because I can answer it in so many different ways. I feel like there is pressure, but when you really give your life to God, you don't care what people think. You really don't, because it just becomes one thing that's important to you, and that's God, that's Jesus. Right. Like what I want to hear when I die and when I make it to heaven is well done, good and faithful servant. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear I never knew you. I want to know God. I want to know him personally. So being uncool or being like, oh, well, he is faithful, he's married, right? I'm 25 years old and I'm married. That's not something that's common in my family. No. I'm the only person that's married in my family. Wow. Outside of my parents. My parents are the only other people that are married in my family. My family has about like 20, like my dad's dad had 11 kids. So for nobody to be married, that's a lot. Yeah, for real. So for me to be deemed as dad and people say like that's not cool, you should be going out with us, you should be living it up, that's nothing compared to the feeling that I get when I come home to my wife. When I come home and I have no doubt that she's doing right by me, you know what I mean? When I'm able to say that I'm being faithful to her, and that we've been through so much together since high school, like I said. So the uncool stuff and the feelings of people saying like, oh, this man he doesn't go out or he doesn't do these things, that doesn't matter to me. What matters is how God sees me, and then second to that, what matters is how my wife sees me, how I'm treating her at home. That's a real man to me, because it's easy to go out and have a whole bunch of women. That's easy. Yeah. It's easy to go out and drink. It's easy to try to suppress your depression and your pain or your stress from work because you're working a job that you hate. It's hard to wake up and say, you know what, I'm gonna choose a different route. I'm gonna exercise. It's hard to do all these other things, but these are all biblical principles. It's hard to try to build an amount of wealth so you can leave an inheritance for your children's children, but that's a biblical principle. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, what am I going to choose? Am I going to choose the hard way, or am I going to choose the easy way? And I just choose God. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you put that so like eloquently, and thank you for that. And I just wanted to just further add to that. Sure. Yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, I'm 29 and I've been single for most of my life. So safe to say I've enjoyed my singlehood and the stuff that you've spoken about. But as I deepen my faith and purpose and start to see the bigger picture of that and realize at the end of the day, like in the moment it's fun and it's acceptable in society. So it's like, all right, word, man, like you're the man. It's so much easier. You know what I mean? Like before I got saved, I was the same way. And that's all of our stories, right? So it's like when something is acceptable in society, you see other people doing it, it's so much easier to follow suit. Yeah. But it's hard to be a leader. It's hard to go against the current. You know,
it really is,
and
man.
something that one of the lessons that my mother always taught me was she always said, be a leader. Don't be a follower.
My mom said the same thing growing up, bro. Stop playing, guys. I didn't tell them to say that. I'm just like audience full transparency. Like that's again, it's one of the reasons why we just happen to connect, and you know that is a big principle, especially as a youngster trying to navigate through this lifetime. You know, like that's what it's about, and to continue talking about the values. Obviously, faith is your biggest value, but two of your other core values are authenticity, being yourself, and working hard. And was there a moment or a person that really drove those lessons home for you? And how do they show? And how do those lessons show up in your life today?
So I can't pin it on one person because I learned it from different people throughout my life.
Okay.
The first person being my dad. What I learned from my father was work hard and take care of your family. My dad has been working since he got here. I'm from the Dominican Republic. He immigrated here, I believe it was 92 or 93. He had nothing, you know, his background, his parents, he had nothing. And he came here with one thing in mind. I got to come here. I got to make something of myself. I got to take care of my mom. Obviously, at that time, he didn't have us yet. So his main focus was, I got to take care of my mother. Unfortunately, he never was able to finish school, right? He never was able to finish high school. His mother told him to get a job, right? So that's what he did. My father, one thing he always taught me was that, hey, I grew up in the worst neighborhood in the Bronx, right, in the Concourse. And I never got into drugs. I never sold it. I never was using drugs or nothing. He said it was all around me. I was even offered at a certain point as a young man, 19 years old, when I came to New York. I was offered to do specific things that were illegal. I never chose that. And every single day for almost 35 years, he's been waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning to go and break his back to, you know, deliver stuff with his truck. And that lesson always stuck with me. Is like, if you want something, it's on you. Like, you got to get up, you got to get it, because nobody's going to give you a handout.
That's right.
Nobody.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Regardless of what side of the fence that you're from.
Exactly.
Man.
And it's crazy because, like, back then I would think to myself, I'd say, you know, it might have been nice if I got, you know, some type of loan or some type of something, you know what I mean? But I'm glad that it didn't happen that way, because what I'm learning now in the season of being an entrepreneur and being in real estate and, you know, having my own business with my wife is how to get it and the freedom that comes with that. Like, nobody could take that away from you. And there's days where it's difficult, but I'm just so glad that it was never given to me. You know, and then another thing that I learned from someone else is when I got into the church, when I got married, I just learned so many lessons from the people who have been married for 30 to 40 years of just life and the realness of it. And being with somebody through sickness and in health, you know, like I've spoken with people whose wives, whose husbands got diagnosed with cancer, and how to navigate life through that. And it opens your eyes and makes you realize how we could be here in one moment and gone in the next moment. Life
can change at the blink of an eye, for better or for worse, obviously. But then sometimes we get those reminders.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that was definitely huge. I could come up with a lot, but I don't want to, you know.
Oh, no, man. It's all good. It's all good. And I just wanted to transition into, obviously, our podcast is about bridging the gap between the tough terrain and affluent acres. And in your opinion, what's one practical way people from each side can better understand and learn from each other?
Talk, communicate. I think that especially now, with where we are in the world, with where we are in America, it's important that we are able to talk and respect each other. Because there is a lot of tension right now, and if we want to have an understanding and actually grow, we need to be able to not be afraid to talk.
That's right.
And just speak about what we may disagree on in a respectful way, and help each other grow. and whatever that looks like, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If the outcome is we want overall this specific area to get better, how can I help you get there? If we want kids who are struggling with mental health to get better, okay, how can I help you get there?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If another situation, this areas might not be as clean as another area, okay, how can I come and lend a helping hand and maybe clean up the neighborhood so that the kids could go outside and play? You know, those things are very important.
Man, what else do I need to say after that? You know what I mean? And I just feel like that is the best way to put it. And it literally comes down to having these conversations, these real conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, one thing is that, hey, when you have certain conversations with certain people, they are so hell-bent on their viewpoint that sometimes there's not enough conversation in the world to influence that, you know, like at all. But for the most part, like when you do have those conversations, you not only learn about, you know, like what other people's thought processes are and the stuff that they've experienced that contributed to their viewpoints. You also find out about yourself because of how you react in certain like situations where it's like, hey, I'm at a social event and, you know, I don't know anyone. I'm uncomfortable, like visibly, but I'm going to try to make an effort to have the talks and communicate with others and things of that nature. You know what I mean?
I'm terrible at social events. But one thing I wanted to try was like before when I used to go to like company events or social events, I felt like I needed to have like a glass of wine. And I stopped that. I was just like, to your point, you know, trying to build that practice of feeling comfortable.
Yeah,
you know, so
and it's definitely like not easy because that is the common theme that comes up on the show is how to bridge the gap aside from like the, you know, aspects that we can do to make sure we're on the similar level health-wise and education and things of that nature. It's having these conversations, but it's not always easy. It's not always easy, but it goes back to what you said earlier, man. It's like, you know, you can take the easy way or you can, you know, do it the hard way, but you'll find out a lot more by putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations and doing things in ways that may not necessarily be the easiest. But again, you'll learn more about cultures and people's way of their thought processes and perceptions and find out more about yourself in the process as a result. And we always talk about real moments as well on this show and the highs and lows, and you basically touched on some of them already, but is there like a specific time where you felt like life hit you the hardest and what helped you pull through or find meaning in it?
So going through teenage years, you know, like you go through a lot of different things and struggles in life. And, you know, in those years where I would say 16, 17, before I met my soon-to-be wife, well, not my soon-to-be wife, my wife, I went through a period where I was very low and very depressed. And it's just like those periods where you're trying to figure yourself out. And you feel very alone. So you try to cope with different things. So, you know, in those seasons, I was running to weed, like in marijuana. So like I got into that with my friends around me, and it just took me through a dark path and a dark hole that I was in for years, and I got addicted to that. Right, so like it took me a long time to get out of that. And then it's funny because I was on and off doing that while still going to church. Still going to church, you know what I mean? Like it was bad, but the beauty of God is that when I got saved, he took it away. He took the addiction away from me, and I never went back to it. I never went back to that thing that was just really holding me down and holding me back from my true potential. So to answer that period of like 16, 17, 18 was the lowest I've ever felt in my life. And Jesus stepped in. Like it was nobody but God. Yeah. Because just the way that things happened, the way that the right people stepped into my life, accepting him and him coming into my heart radically changed me, and I've never been the same.
That's really powerful, man. And I just, like, my takeaway from you saying that is that, you know, we tend to suppress our feelings and what we're going through things like drugs and alcohol or overeating or other pleasures or vices, you know, and again, it circles back to doing the hard thing,
right?
Realizing where, okay, like, hey man, if I'm going like through something, it can be very, very difficult, but there is a way through, and there's much better and healthier alternatives to overcome the struggles that you're going through. And when I say that, it's not to negate anyone's struggles, because whether you grew up in a suburban affluent acres area or a urban tough terrain area, we all go through our own sets of struggles and you know, dark stuff that we wrestle with, but there is always healthier alternatives and ways to face those and overcome those, and we have the inner strength to do it, and also having the support system through the people in your life, through faith and things like that, to also help you overcome that. And
for sure.
And as we begin to wrap this up, man, for anyone who resonated with your story or wants to follow your journey, where can they connect with you? So this is your chance to shout out your social or any other businesses that you want to show some love to. Floor is yours, bro. Floor is yours.
I appreciate it, dog. So if you guys want to follow me on IG, I'm going to start doing a new series and starting it back up on Instagram again. My Instagram is just my name, first and last name, Jeremy Paulino.
You mind spelling it for them? We're also going to have it in the show notes, and for those watching, we're going to have the logo. Of course,
well. Absolute. My father-in-law would say absolutely. Is Jeremy Paulino, so Jeremy, Paulino, Paulin, and then instead of the O, it's a 0. They didn't have the O available. Some 12-year-old kid has it, so I'm gonna need that, you know, in a couple years. And then me and the wife's business is called All Things Jesus. I'm sure you guys are not surprised. But it's a stationary brand, and it's really been it's just for women right now. So if you guys have wives or some friends that are in the faith and would like some fly stuff, we got some really dope things on there. My wife is doing some big things on her social media platform, so she's been crushing it, you know, so we're working on that, and we're really just trying to spread the gospel, you know what I mean, spread the good news that, you know, Jesus Christ, he came, he died for you so that you could live with him for eternity. So that's really my main focus, is just being who he designed me to be and living the life to my fullest potential and helping as many people throughout that process. You know what I mean? And that could be in anything, but I just want to live the way he lived and touch people's hearts the way he touched people's hearts. And, you know, hopefully that's shown in this episode.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And two things before we fully log off on this very deep and powerful episode. One is that I've always admired just how strong you stand in your faith, and how strong everyone stands in their faith or spiritual practice, or if you're agnostic, whatever, you know. There's definitely is levels to it, and it looks different for everybody, but, you know, again, I'm very big on having a spiritual practice, you know, especially with God. Okay. And number two, me and Jeremy are running a half marathon coming up.
How did we forget
as
about
well
that?
For the Rocky Run? So funny story, Jeremy and I, we used to work together, just like we mentioned, and so we always keep in contact, you know, just to.
Well, I'm always texting him, like he'll go ghost for 6 months, and I'll text him like, "Hey, bro, how you doing?" Like God will give me that nudge, like, "Yo, check him on Andre, see how he's doing," and then he'll text me back. That's okay.
Because I'm locked in, bro. I'm locked in. And then text me, "Hey, man, we're running, I'm doing a half marathon. You want to do it?" Yeah, bro. Let's do it. So that's going to be happening for the Rocky Run for Saturday, November 8th. So be sure to check us out on the social media platforms. Should be a fun one.
It's going to be
great
interesting.
Once it ends.
It's going to be interesting for sure, yo. This
Definitely.
guy, it's funny story. This guy, I hit him up like 3 weeks ago. I'm like, yo, let's do our long run on Sunday. Cool. So we run in the long run, and he's faster than me. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He just runs a faster pace than me. So we're running. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to try to keep up with him, but there's no way that he's lapping me. Yo, like a good 30 to 45 minutes later, I feel that tap on my shoulder like Captain America talking about on your left. I'm like, there's no way. Like, am I really that slow? Bro, I got work to do. But he's crushing it, though. He's crushing it.
Thanks,
Podcast, working, and running like an 8-mile pace. Crazy.
Thanks, man. And Jeremy, you're doing your thing as well.
Thank you.
You're young and getting it and just really doing your thing. So it's been, from my perspective, it's been really dope to see the growth that you've undergone in the last 2.5 years and the growth that you continue to be on. So I really commend you on that. So
Appreciate
just
that, bro.
we're going to keep pushing each other and striving for greatness, man. So Jeremy,
sure.
Thank you so much, man, for joining. It means a lot. So please be sure to show some love and follow him on Instagram and show
Appreciate
love
that.
to him and the wifey's business. And please be sure to continue showing us love on your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And while you're there, give us a 5-star rating, leave a comment, and follow so we can continue growing the Middle of the Fence family. And if you're on YouTube, please be sure to follow us at Andre Spruell, and there you'll find the podcast playlist. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on there as well. We're continuing to grow the Middle of the Fence family, so thank you guys for all the love and support up until this point and in the future. And again, no matter what side of the fence you grew up on, we're all more alike than we think. My name is Andre Spruell. Catch you guys next time.
Great job, bro.
That's good. Bro.
God, I feel like I wanted more. I wanted to